Welcome to ProjectME, the podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Carter, the founder of ProjectME, multimillionaire entrepreneur, former TV newscaster, money-making expert, female empowerment speaker, and self-proclaimed office supply addict. My mission is to take the mystery out of making big money. Every week on ProjectME, the podcast, I'll share success tips, strategies, and stories from other entrepreneurs, experts, and millionaires, showing you exactly how you can achieve your most exceptional life. Now let's get to it. Exciting announcement for all of my listeners. I've officially opened my exclusive group, the ProjectME Passive Income Posse, to the public. This group is by application only, so we can keep the group high vibe and spend our time, energy, and expertise only helping those of you who truly want massive success and impact. You get live weekly trainings from me, special guest coaches, and direct access to me and my business partner for all of your questions. To learn more and apply, go to projectmewithtiffany.com, click on Work With Me, and select ProjectME Posse. And of course, any questions, feel free to DM me at ProjectMeWithTiffany. Welcome to ProjectME with Tiffany Carter, the podcast and posse. I'm your host, Tiffany, and today we are going to get you from caring what everyone thinks, being worried what people will think of you, what you post online, when you change your occupation, when you state that you're, going to be a health coach or a fitness coach or do mindset work or start any form of a business, and what will Aunt Suzie think, and what will that bitchy girl from high school who follows you think? What will your current friends and coworkers where you currently have employment think of you doing this when you put yourself out there, when you get on video, when you make posts? Will they be making fun of you behind your back? Will they think you're an idiot? Say, who does she think she is for doing this, that, and the other? Sound familiar? I know how you guys think. Number one, I communicate with you all the time. Number two, I used to think exactly the same way. There's a reason why I had the idea, the logo, the name for ProjectME with Tiffany Carter for 10 years, you guys. I had it for 10 freaking years before I started the damn thing. It was in part because of divine timing. God knew I had to go through a lot of other stuff and go through the dark night of the soul for me to really do true hardcore healing work, for me to show up in true, pure, authentic energy and my true self, so I could coach and guide all of you to do the same. So that's a big part of it too, right? Is trusting that divine timing. And I had other lessons and other mistakes and other wins and other things that I had to learn to prepare to show up exactly as all of you need at the exact right time. So there's that. But the other part is I had a shit ton of resistance, mainly because of one person, believe it or not. Mine wasn't so much like, what would people, my college friends think of me, my high school friends. I mean, so many people that I went to school with are doing all sorts of interesting things. But I also went to, shout out, Emerson College in Boston, which is a very well-known TV production, TV personality school. Like Jay Leno went there, for example, Maria Menounos, among many, many others. So it's a very well-known, well-respected school in the entertainment industry. So it's filled with tons of creatives. So I didn't have that worry that people would think anything. In fact, I knew that they would cheer me on. For me, it was one person, but I also, and I'll get to that in a second, but it was also because of my other business. So as I've shared many times, my other business is in the pharmaceutical, medical, and health supplement niche. And we do digital marketing for these brands. So Facebook ads, email lists, run all their social media, Google ads, that kind of a thing. within that specific health niche. And that's a very conservative industry. It has to be because it's highly FDA regulated and strict. And that's why I'm well known in that niche, because I know how to write content and market and advertise while staying within those very, very strict and tight guidelines. So it is filled with a lot of conservative people, like many of you who listen who are in the medical industry, whether you're a medical professional or my people who listen who are in the finance industry, my accountants, or also my lawyers. And I actually have more than one lawyer, so I know they listen. That's another episode. When you get successful enough in business, you don't just have one lawyer, you actually have a team. And I'm not saying that to scare you. It's a good thing to protect yourself and to make sure that you're doing everything above board. So in those industries are also conservative that are highly regulated. And I was afraid, swearing, showing up as Tiffany, not professional business pantsuit Tiffany, AKA leg prisons. Me showing up wearing, my robe for the 5th day in a row, haven't washed my hair, just being me, shooting the shit with you guys, teaching you all the things. I was afraid that I would lose clients because they'd say, what is she doing? She's not being, super polished. She is being a little controversial with some of her topics. She's talking about God. She's swearing. She's da-da-da-da-da. So I started making up these stories in my head that, by the way, I had no evidence that those were true. But because I had no evidence supporting either way, right, what happens is our egos pick the shit way. I don't know why that is. I've very rarely, and I have come across them, but very rarely have I met somebody where their ego automatically goes to the positive. It's usually we go to like the worst part, right? Which is I'm going to lose clients. I'm going to lose all of the respect, the admiration, the clout, all that stuff that I have earned over many, many years in that medical niche, just by going after my dream. And then what if my dream doesn't work? What if the podcast doesn't take off? What if ProjectME with Tiffany Carter, my business coaching practice and my empowerment, services and all of that, what if it doesn't take off? And now I just screwed myself and my reputation for my other business that's very lucrative. I mean, I can go down a whole path with it, and I know all of you can too, because I didn't have supporting evidence on either side. So, of course, my brain went to the shitty side. And then getting back to that one person, the one individual I was afraid of in my personal life was my mom. I only have one living relative. That is my mom. She does not listen to the show. I don't think she even knows how to access podcasts, but I wouldn't put that past her because this is a woman who's very familiar with using emojis. Maybe she listens. She's never mentioned it. Knowing her personality, she definitely would think that it's just some weird hobby and there's I don't really do anything important with it. So in a sense, that has helped me knowing she's not listening, but I didn't know she wasn't going to listen and criticize. And I wanted to be able to use my voice and speak clearly and not have anything guarding me. And I wanted to only do this if I could show up as 100% Tiffany, not just on my podcast, but like in my Instagram and my videos and my YouTubes, all that stuff, and all my writings, my course, everything. If I couldn't show up as 100% me, flaws and all, then I wasn't going to do this because I had spent too much of my life kind of curating myself to fit into society because I never felt I fit in, and 2, I kind of knew I didn't. And so I'd become a chameleon, and that's exhausting. That was dimming my light. That didn't feel good, and I refused to do that anymore. So how did I get from giving all the fucks, right, of 10 years having an idea and a concept and a dream, and it never left my soul and my heart, you guys. It never did. I might not have thought about it every day, but it did pop into my head and my heart at least once a week. Sometimes, some weeks it was every day. across all of those years. I mean, just incredible when you think about that. That's a long freaking time. And I know a lot of you can relate. Maybe it wasn't 10 years for you, or maybe it's been your whole life you've had it. We don't have a burning desire to do something or an idea or something we have a pull to do inside of us if we weren't meant to do it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there. Because you could line up a whole bunch of people and ask them, what is your burning desire of something to do that maybe you've never shared with anyone or even said it out loud, but what is it? Each one of us would have a different answer. Some things might kind of like be similar to one another, but like writing a book or something like that might be similar to one another, but in a different area and a different specialty with different reasons why. So you're meant to do that thing. It never left me. So that was undeniable. I knew I was meant to do it because it never left me. Otherwise, I would have been satisfied with what I was doing, or I would have just gone to look for a different job, or maybe shifted careers and stayed an employee or whatever. So I did recognize that because I've been doing, a lot of law of attraction and manifestation work for a very long time. And when I went into recovery for being an exercise addict, workaholic, and addicted to people, places, and things, being codependent people pleaser, long list of things, you guys. When I truly found God and a God of my understanding and had a true spiritual awakening, it was so clear. And it was also so clear why God, the universe, had me have this kind of, have my dream and have my vision on, I don't even want to say pause. It was on the back burner. So it was like a simmering, beautiful stew going on, but it just wasn't ready to serve yet. It needed to marinate more. And I really saw that and I got that. And that was a really beautiful moment. So knowing that, having that spiritual connection and truly knowing that I am meant to do this, or I wouldn't have this burning desire. I wouldn't have gone through all the shit I've gone through if I wasn't meant to do something with this, because why else would I be on this earth? Why else would I be created? There's a lot of other pieces of DNA and people who could have been created. Why am I even still alive? I should have been dead a few times over again, right? So I knew that. But that still wasn't enough for me to go from really being afraid to truly show up as me and go all in, and being still concerned about worrying about what would people think, what would they say, what would they judge, to giving truly where I'm at right now is 0 fucks, which I know you guys know. And I also get that that is part of my responsibility, my mission, and my duty to help encourage, guide, and empower you to all get to that zone yourself, because that's where the magic happens. That's where the magic happens within yourself. You're finally set fucking free. We put ourselves in these prisons, these mind prisons, when we care so much about what other people will think. What if I say no, what will they think? If I say yes, what will they think? If I quit the job, what will they think? If I decide not to have kids, what will they think? If I decide I want another kid, what will they think? If I decide I want to dye my hair purple, what will they think? The freedom of not giving a fuck what anyone thinks, your spouse, your kids, your family, your boss, your coworkers, your friends, the person who is the regular person who gives you your coffee every morning at the coffee shop. I don't give a fuck. And I don't mean it like I don't give a fuck, like I have a chip on my shoulder, because that's not truly releasing that need for approval. If you have a chip on your shoulder about it, and I know you know the people I'm talking about, I see some of them online, and I give them a lot of, grace and prayer, because I don't think they're aware of it yet. But that chip on their shoulder of like, oh, I don't give a shit what anyone thinks. Like, that's out of ego. And I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. You can kind of sense it, whether there's people in your life like that, or people online, or even podcasts you've listened to. A lot of men can fall into this, or women with a high masculine energy can fall into that. It's like a false confidence. And I had some of that before. That's why I can recognize it. And that's also yet another reason why I didn't start Project Me with Tiffany Carter until I did, because I had to be able to shed those false layers of myself, that false confidence, that kind of bravado. Yeah, that's not attractive. It's not attractive. It doesn't make people feel safe. It doesn't draw people to you. It doesn't really help. It might be kind of intriguing to people, or maybe attractive or even admirable, but it keeps people at a distance. It keeps people at arm's length. Someone might not always be able to pick up on it. I can, because of being an empath intuitive, but not everyone can. And I know many of you listening, though, since you're sensitive to people's energies, I know you guys know what I'm talking about. When you show up in a true, raw place where your self-worth is intact, to the point where you're like, I will be okay regardless what someone else's opinion is of what I do, what I think, what I say, what I feel, what I choose. That's true, genuine confidence. That's when you are no longer needing or seeking approval or validation outside of yourself, that you're good enough to do the damn thing that you're meant to do. And this is not somewhere you're going to get overnight. This is a process. So this is something I'm going to continue to do episodes on, so that to help you guys get into this, because that's truly why, in my opinion, why Project Me with Tiffany Carter grew so fast in such a short time, and having the show just a year and a half, from having, 0 to 500 downloads to now 8 to 12,000 unique downloads per episode. It grew that fast, along with my Instagram community, etc., and the business as a whole, because this is a business where I, make money. I serve, but, mama makes cash with it, is because when we truly show up as ourselves, and we show up and we're whole, where I am not doing anything to seek validation, approval, that I'm good enough, that I'm worthy, from anything outside of myself. Nothing outside of myself. It is, it's just where the magic happens. And I'm free to just be me, uniquely me, flaws and all. I can show the crap side of my days, the great side of my days, and I feel just as good doing all of it. That doesn't mean I'm not nervous to share some stuff sometimes. That doesn't mean I'm like, God, am I going too far? I mean, I've done some posts recently where I'm like, am I going too far? Like, not too far out of my comfort zone, because I always check with myself, because it's always, it's always discretion over full disclosure. You don't have to disclose everything about your life to be honest and true and authentic and all those things, because we have to protect ourselves first. But sometimes, because I am so comfortable talking about especially like abuse topics or some heavier topics, I'm like, ooh, did that go too far? I don't want to, I don't want to trigger anyone. It comes from that place. But I stop myself and I go, hold on, am I doing this out of a place of service and love, where I truly want to get this out? And if the answer is yes, and I'm not expecting anything in return, then I press post. Then I press share. Because not everyone is going to like everything you do. If you saw my DMs, you would understand what I'm saying. Now, 95% of my DMs are positive, are beautiful, are wonderful. Thank you guys for DMing me. I spend 2 hours every single day inside my DMs, 7 days a week still. I started that on day one, but I didn't have any DMs on day one. But I spend that long in my DM still to this day. It just takes me a little longer sometimes to get back to some of you, especially when my DMs get really crazy. But I love reading your DMs, answering your questions. But yeah, inside there are some nasty ones. I share them once in a while just so you guys see. A lot of them I can laugh at because they're so ridiculous. It's like, you can't believe in God because you swear and all this. It's like, okay. Or I got, if I show up a lot where like my skin's not looking good, I look a mess. And it's like, if you really were all about self-worth, you would put on, you would at least put on some makeup and shower or some, stuff like that. And it's like, That's not basically, it's none of your business how I show up. I show up how I show up. And if I felt like going and putting on some makeup and doing something with my hair, I can, but I'm going to show up as me. And if I had zero desire to do it that day, but I need to show up to, communicate with you guys, to serve, to promote one of my latest offerings, because this is a fucking business. I'm going to show up just as I am, because if I know that I have to put on like grown-up clothes, do my hair and makeup in order for me to show up on video, I can tell you I wouldn't be consistent. What happens when we're not consistent? There's no cash and there's no community. So that's not an option for me. So I can laugh at a lot of these things and roll my eyes, but that doesn't mean once in a while there isn't something that happens. And it's really rare, but once in a while, something that happens that rattles me a little more, that I'm like, wow, that's really fucked up. Like that doesn't mean it doesn't happen, but I can process through it, because it really isn't ever about us. It's rare. Now, listen, we all make mistakes. We're human beings. I've made a typo before. I've had my team make a mistake and forget to tag someone in something, and people have gotten like really bent sideways about not being tagged or tagged properly. And it's like, okay, we'll fix it. But some people get real bent because they're assuming that you did it on purpose or you left them out or whatever. We can only do the best we can on any given time. You are not going to be able to have all your I's dotted and T's crossed in growing a business. I don't give a shit how big your business is, how many employees you have. If you have the best of the best, I work with Fortune 100 companies in my other business. I also go and teach full sales trainings for these companies, Fortune 100, Fortune 500. Major companies, multi-billion-dollar companies. There are fucking major mistakes every day, even if there's 25 different pairs of eyes that review something. That is why there's a retraction section and a correction section in every major newspaper and magazine there is in the entire world. It's small, but you can for sure go and find it if you're like, oh, what's she talking about? Every single one. Remember, I'm a former journalist. I know these things. And that's in there for a reason. They spelled someone's last name wrong. They put the wrong last name. They gave the person the wrong title. There was a fact that was incorrect, even though the journalist fact checked, but the fact check was wrong. Okay? They had to correct it. Every single one. How many of you have read a fucking book where you're like, oh, there's a typo, and it's like a major author, and this wasn't some self-published shit. This was through a major publishing house, which there are dozens and dozens of people that have to go through that before that shit gets published. I know all of you have. And I'm not like a grammar police person. Like, first off, I have no right to. I'm not great at grammar or spelling. And I've still have caught them. So I want you to remind yourself of that. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to ruffle feathers. People aren't going to always like what you have to say. And you're going to need to do it anyway. It's not possible. Otherwise, you just aren't going to be able to serve at your greatest good and do what you want to do. So you have to make a decision. Play small, stay quiet, stay doing whatever you're doing that you're not happy doing, or you wouldn't be listening to this show and listening to me. Right? You're here to learn how to start a business, start a side hustle, shift careers, go after your true dreams, and feel empowered to do so, and learn the strategy to know how to do it. So you wouldn't be listening to me if you didn't have a burning desire to do something else, build something else, or grow something further than where it's already at in your life. So we already know that. You already know playing small isn't working for you. There is only one other way out, and it's to go all in. And you have to get to that zero fucks. So what's the worst that can happen? This is what I like to do with my private clients. Let's go to the worst case scenario. So your coworkers start alienating you from lunch at work, and they start talking behind your back, and they think you're weird. And now they tell your boss you're doing something on the side, and now your boss wants to talk to you about it. and is concerned about you doing something on the side and blah, blah, blah. I mean, I'm trying to think of what the worst thing is, and that your boss or your company doesn't like and they fire you. I'm just giving one person scenario based on how many different things I hear from coaching people. And here's what I have to say to that. So you're telling me you're not going to go after what it is you want to do because you're afraid of fucking Johnny and Samantha and fucking bitchy Betty at your work, who truly, once you leave there, you're never going to hang out with them again. They're your work friends. There's a reason they're classified as work friends, right? Not your close friends. So, you're going to not go after your dream and serve the people you're meant to serve and help the people you're meant to help and be your highest self for yourself and your loved ones because of those people who are miserable drones. That's sad. No, this is not okay. Now we go to the boss thing. It's like, but Tiffany, I could lose my job. I can't afford to lose my job. We don't know you're going to lose your job. This is what I coach I should do an episode just on this, and you guys can tell me if you want an episode on this. But this is where I coach my clients, where as long as you're not doing as long as you're still doing your current job, for those of you who are currently employed, right? Whether it's part-time or full-time somewhere, you are currently employed and you're not 100% an entrepreneur yet. If they want to get rid of you for doing something on the side and there's nothing in your contract that says you can't do it, and there's nothing you're doing that is interfering with your work, and you're still showing up with integrity in your work and giving them good value for what they pay you, then they're just using something as an excuse to fire you, and they wanted to let your ass go anyway. I'm being really blunt with you. I've sat on the board for several companies. I used to be the CEO of a very large medical group. I know how things are, and HR will use things as excuses to let people go, or kind of force them out so they don't have to fire you, so they don't have to help pay your unemployment. I could go on and on with it. So it's also another way God and the universe is kind of forcing you out of a job to force you into doing what you were meant to be doing in the first place, and pushing you to get there because you were too scared to do it yourself. A lot of my clients come to me because they know they're about to get fired, and they need to make sure they ramp up what it is they want to do and have it set up to start bringing in cash stat, because they just can sense it. Because when you're not happy, you can only fake it for so long and show up for a certain way for so long. People start picking up on the energy. No one wants to have an employee that really doesn't want to be there. And it's only a matter of time, you guys. So you have to be honest with yourself. You're not really fooling anyone. You can tell the difference between someone who wants to be there and someone who really doesn't want to be there. So that's one worst case scenario. What's the other? You have friends who make fun of you, who don't want to be friends with you, or family members who criticize. Who are you to coach people on mindset? You just had a meltdown last week with me, or you're a hot mess, or whatever. You're telling me you are not going to go after what it is you have in your heart and soul and what you want to do, and truly give it a full, fair shot of going after it and helping the people you want to help and making the money you want to make and being financially independent and not dependent on a job, an institution, on a person for money ever again. You're telling me you're going to hold off doing it, or only go kind of half in doing that, because of some criticism from some people in your life. That's your choice. That's your choice. And we've got to, why is it so important to you if they think you should or should not be doing this, or if you're qualified to be doing this, or if you sound like an idiot? Why does their opinion matter so much to you? Because I love the people in my life and I value their opinion, but I don't value their opinion over my own. Why are you valuing other people's opinions and critiques and thoughts, etc., over your own opinion of yourself and your true belief? That's where the core issue lies. There is a self-worth part of you that is not whole, that is damaged, just as I had. I had no self-worth. And that's why people's comments, criticisms, perceived criticisms, imagined thoughts, meaning I'm imagining Uncle John is going to say this or think this, or my mom's going to say this, or, you know, their negative Nancy's going to think this, where you're like making it up in your head and you don't know that to be absolutely true. Why does it matter so much if you are whole with yourself and in integrity with yourself and you're following your own dreams and have a high opinion of your worth to begin with? It's because it's not. It's not full. And you need to be doing that work. That's why anyone who coaches with me, we do a combination of that inner work and strategy, because I get it. We need to be building your business and have money come in, but you're not going to be able to have the money coming in, attract your ideal clients, and grow your business when you have these big dings on your self-worth inside of you. It will hold you back. It just won't work. And if you're already in business now and it's not growing that much at the pace you want, you're not making the money you want, I'm telling you this is why. And you can call bullshit on me because maybe you don't want to do the work and your ego's saying, oh, Tiffany doesn't know. She doesn't understand the climate that we're in right now. And now we have all this shit going on in the world and it's only going to get worse. And Tiffany's saying the solution is that you have to be whole with your self-worth. And that's where, you know, all roads lead. And she says low self-worth equals low net worth, but she's not considering all the factors going on in the world right now and all the people who are against me and my abusive spouse and blah, blah, blah. That's your ego talking because it doesn't want to do that work that I'm telling you that you need to do. I did the same thing. That's why I know what some of you are doing right now. It's the resistance to doing that work because you're going to have to feel some really painful feelings and do some heavy shit to work through it. I have the experience, I have the expertise, and I have the emotional capacity to hold that space for you. And I'm not saying I have to be the one to guide you through it. It could be something you do in therapy. It could be something you do with someone else who you feel can take you through there. But it's got to be someone who doesn't let you kind of wiggle out. Because I know most people try to wiggle out. And it's my job to lovingly not let you. Because if I allow you to, now I'm enabling you to go back to that same behavior, that go down in that victim path. It's society. It's the coronavirus. It's the stars aren't aligned. It's Mercury retrograde. It's my childhood. It's my horrible relationship right now. It's the fact that my kids are little. It's the fact I don't have time. It's the fact that I have a health condition where I don't have much energy. I could go down a very long list of all the excuses I've heard, and it doesn't fucking matter. All of it is bullshit. You are choosing to not go after 100% what it is you know damn well you want to do. And there's a part of you that knows you are meant to do it because you are putting other people's opinions, their perceived opinions, their imagined opinions, what other people will think of you. If you're of value, you're putting all of that into everything outside of yourself. Into other people's hands, strangers' hands, people you know, friends, family. That's not okay. That will never work. That will never freaking work. Because guess what? People reflect back to you what you're already thinking and believing about yourself. So I'm gonna end with this thought. Because I know I'm giving you guys a lot to think about right now. When I give too much heavy stuff for people to think about, it can make you spin and then it's not as effective. So I'm very aware of that. Here's the thing. How do I phrase this in a way? I want to make sure you guys hear this. When I didn't think I mattered and I was worthless and I really didn't believe I deserved to have an amazing amazing supportive people in my life, because if they only really knew how much of a mess I was, and how depressed I was and how low vibe I was, no one would really want to be around me. Because I so strongly believed that and said that to myself, and I even said it into therapy, it ended up being reflected back to me. Do you think I attracted really high vibe people in my life with that thought? No. I attracted people who would even say mean things to me and abusive things to me because I was being abusive to myself. When we're being hypercritical and our inner critic, our inner bully is leading the charge, you are going to invite in people who say things to you, and negative people and toxic people will come out of the woodwork because you're being toxic to yourself. You're being abusive to yourself. And what do I always say? Like attracts like. It starts, begins, and ends with us. We are the common denominator in our lives. That's why ProjectME is called ProjectME. We are, the ME is an acronym. We are the most exceptional projects of our lives. We have to put the focus on us first in order for everything else to fall into place. All right? Here's where you guys are going to get extra wisdom from me around this that I don't share anywhere else. And it's inside my secret posse. Once a week, I email you with something I don't share anywhere else. Sometimes it's strategy. A lot of it is this kind of deeper mindset stuff. And it's not some long drawn out email. It's very to the point and true Tiff style. And I use a lot of humor too, because we can all laugh, especially when we're in our inbox. So I want you to go right now and join my secret posse. It's at projectmewithtiffany.com/secret posse. projectmewithtiffany.com/secret posse. It's also inside my link in bio on Instagram at projectmewithtiffany. This is also where you guys are the first to get my really cool freebies, the first to get discounts on any of my programs that I put out there, the first to get any kind of news on events or anything that I'm doing. Give yourself that gift, because listening to the podcast, getting a weekly dose in your email, following me on Instagram, this keeps feeding your mind, and you're getting then these consistent reminders to get outside of this, truly this desperate need, this needy energy for external validation and support and approval, and focus back within. And it's really going to help you. If you guys love this episode, do me a favor, go on iTunes, write a 5-star review. So obviously it's something that you want to say and genuinely about the show. You do not have to have an iTunes account in order to do this. You could be on Google and still do it. So go in there, Project Me with Tiffany Carter, the podcast, 5-star written iTunes review. Make sure you include your name or your Instagram handle, and then you can DM me and let me know that you did a review. It'd be easier if you put a screenshot of the review inside my DMs. But if all you do is, put your name or let me know of what your Instagram handle is you put inside the review, then we can go and check it. And I would love to buy you a coffee drink of your choice, a celery juice, something like that, just to like a virtual cheers, just to say thank you for supporting me, for supporting the show and the posse community all together. So I love you guys so much. Wishing you great health, wealth, and worth as always. Talk to you soon. If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.